Hi everyone. Today's tool that we're going to talk about is called Curipod. If you have never heard of it, in essence, it is a presentation tool that allows interactivity to be built into the slides. Things like polling questions, drawing, whiteboards, and there are some interactive components that allow for AI to be included in it. So let's get started and learn a little more about Curipod and how it might help you in your classroom. So here we are on Curipod's homepage. To get us started, what I want you to see is on our homepage here, we've got my recent lessons, recent reports. We'll look at those a bit later. But I want to show you that when you choose to get a lesson, let's actually do this up here at the top. I want you to see that you can create a lesson using AI or creating a blank lesson. A blank lesson would be creating your lesson truly from scratch. If we go into that, you can see that we have a variety of ways that we can build our slides. By clicking this plus button in the lower left-hand corner, we can add a new slide. From here, we're going to see some of our options here. Here are some of the activities that we can put inside of our slides: open questions, polling, AI feedback, drawing, word cloud, and AI whiteboard. You can also see what you can add onto content slides. So in reality, this looks a lot like a Google Slides kind of thing, or Nearpod, where you would add content slides and then, like Nearpod, you can add in activities. So we could do that. We could come through here and we could create them all from scratch. It's also worth noting that you can upload an existing presentation and then you can add interactivity to those. So if you have already something you built and you just want to add in some of their activities, you can do that as well. Now, before we create a presentation, whether it's from a blank presentation or from AI, I think it might be most helpful to see one in action so you can see some of the options that are available when you display these and present these to students. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to one of my lessons and I'm going to have us join one and show you how the interactivity works. Now you can see I have several presentations here that I have built, or rather had AI and Curipod build for me. But the one I'm going to have us play around with today for demonstrative purposes is this one on Martin Luther King Jr. This one I did have Curipod's AI build for me, and again, I will show you that process in just a few minutes. So from here, when I click on the presentation, I can edit it and I can start the lesson. But just to give you an overview, you can see that I have 7 slides in this. This one is a content slide, so there's no interactivity, just content. This is an open question, you can see here. This is another content slide, where this was again built by Curipod's AI. This is a slide where they get AI feedback, and I'll show you how this works. This is an AI whiteboard. This is a polling question, you can read that here. And this is again one where we have AI feedback. So I could go in and edit any of these, add additional content slides, I could change the text on these, I could add in more activities, anything I want to do. So what they build for you is fully able to be edited once it's built. Now before I start the lesson, I just want to also show you can share this lesson. By clicking here, you can copy the join link to share with students, or you can copy the link to share with teachers. So if this is something that you want to share with a colleague or a fellow teacher, you can do that here as well. Now, typically, I would go ahead here and start the lesson for students to join. But for demonstrative purposes, for the video, I'm actually going to click here and choose to preview the lesson so we can see the teacher side and the student side at the same time. And you'll be able to see better, big picture, what Curipod can do for us. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is mute the music because it's a little bit distracting, especially while we're doing this. So what you can see here is on the right side, you can see the classroom screen, what students would see up on a big screen. And what we see over here is what's on the student screen, or what they would see on their device. So that could be a Chromebook or a laptop or a phone, whatever it is you're having them connect to Curipod through. So Curipod has a PIN number that they can use to join this room and to interact with these activities. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in now. And join. Now, one fun thing about this is what is displayed up on the classroom screen is just a fun name. We can put in their real name here, and that would help us as educators for reporting later. Okay, so again, that didn't change this. It still just looks silly iPhone here, and it lets me know what my nickname is. Okay, so on my classroom screen, I'm going to go over here and click Start. You can see here that it's telling you what's happening is on the big screen, and they can see it here, or they can click on Slides right here, and they can see it on their screen as well. So they can read it here, or they can read it on the big screen. Again, this first one was just content, so that we're just reading this together, and we're going over it as a class. I can move on to the next slide, and it moves on for the student here as well. What do you know about Martin Luther King Jr. and his role in the civil rights movement? So right here, I can choose to start the activity. It's set at a minute, but I can change that if I want to. So I'm going to go ahead and start the activity and allow the students to go ahead and engage with it. So on the student side, I'm going to be able to write in an answer. So I'm going to go ahead and click in here. Okay, and I could keep typing, but I'll go ahead and just allow that to be my answer, and I'll go ahead and hit submit. Now, I can go ahead and end the activity, or I can add a minute. I'm going to go ahead and end it because for demonstrative purposes, we don't need to allow this to go all the way through. So I did end the activity, and on my side, I can see there's one answer. Now, I want to show you a couple of different options that we'll see on this screen. The first is you can see that there's a start voting option here, and this is here to allow me an additional feature I added to this question where students can vote on which answer they liked the best of all the student answers. They don't know who wrote it. They're just voting on what they like as an answer. I'll go ahead and do this. We will only see one answer over here because we are just demonstrating this, but I will show you how it works. The other thing I want to show you is underneath settings here, I've got some options where I can add an activity on the fly. I can see the students who have joined. I can skip the voting if I didn't want to do that for this round, or I can choose to open moderation. I want to show you that because if I click on this and I go ahead and open this, on an extra window, I can see exactly what students wrote. So if I want to see that in the moment, I can see that right here and see exactly what everybody wrote to make sure there isn't anything inappropriate. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. I'll go ahead and start the voting and show you that on the student side, they're going to be able to vote. Again, there's only one option here, so I'm going to go ahead and choose one. And then what it shows on the big screen is what got first place, second place, and third place. Again, we only had one to choose from here. So I can allow them to vote on an answer or not. It's just an option. Let me go ahead to the next question. Okay, this is, again, a content slide. Students are seeing it over here. I'm going to go on to the next. Okay, this is another activity, so I'll go ahead and start the activity. It says here you'll see feedback from Martin Luther King Jr., so how will that work? So what would I ask him? So I'm going to say, were you scared during the civil rights movement? I'll go ahead and hit submit. I will go ahead and end the activity here. Okay, now, what are my options here? So I can see that I can go ahead and give feedback. Now, this is AI generated feedback, so I can go ahead and give it, but if I want to see what it is first, I can click here. We're going to go back to that moderation screen, and it's going to tell me, do you want to go ahead and generate the feedback and see what this will look like? Yes, I do. So I'm going to go ahead and generate the feedback and then show it in moderation view. Here is what Shannon had to say, and here is the feedback that AI was going to give it in the voice of Martin Luther King Jr. Yes, I was often scared during the civil rights movement. Facing violence and hatred was frightening, but I believe deeply in our cause for equality and justice. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting in spite of it. Okay, so we could read through this. If I don't like it, I can edit it, I can retry it, or I don't actually have to give that feedback if I didn't want to. I could just look at these answers later. In my experience, this feedback has been spot on. I haven't had anything that I read it and thought it was just not appropriate or wasn't a good fit for what the student had said, but that's up to you. So I could go ahead and give the feedback. I'll go ahead and do that. And here now the student sees exactly what the feedback was, generated by AI and pushed forward through me. I'll go ahead to the next one. Okay, so this next one is another activity. It's a drawing activity. Draw a symbol or an image that represents Martin Luther King Jr.'s message of peace and equality and justice. I'll go ahead and start the activity. I've run this with students, and they've drawn all sorts of things here. And what has always surprised me is actually how good that Curipod does with understanding what these are. So I'm going to go ahead and draw here, probably not well, but I'm going to try to draw a peace symbol. Gosh, this is not great drawing, but you're going to get the idea. And we'll see if AI can pick up on what I'm trying to do here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and submit it. And I have all sorts of options up here on how I could have drawn this. And I believe you have an option to type or to write words in as well. Okay, I'm going to end the activity. This time, instead of looking at it first, I'm going to go ahead and give the feedback, and let's see what it says to the student. Let's see if it picked it up. Great work. Your drawing of the peace symbol is a great representation of Martin Luther King Jr.'s message. It captures the essence of peace, an important part of his vision for equality and justice. Well done. Again, I've run this activity with students, and I have always found the feedback to be appropriate. But again, you could have gone into moderation and saw what that was going to be before we pushed it forward. Okay, here's a poll. So we will go ahead and start the activity. Allow students to vote on what you would rate the progress made in achieving racial equality in the United States. So I'm going to say some progress has been made, but more is needed, and that's my vote. And again, it's showing here how everybody is voting with no names associated with it. I'll go on to the last slide here. This is a writing activity again. What do you think Martin Luther King Jr.'s actions continue to influence? How do you think influence social movements today? I'll go ahead and start the activity. I'll pause the video and go ahead and write in my answer here and show you what that'll come up as. Okay, I did type in an answer. I'm going to go ahead and push forward the feedback, and you'll be able to see what my answer was. His actions are still influential today as we continue to look to him as a leader in equal rights for all. Celebrating him in January every year shows how we view him as a leader. Okay, great job on your response. Content knowledge, it gave me, you demonstrated a good understanding. Your ideas are clear and organized. You mentioned the celebration in January as evidence. And then here's some critical thinking. You could enhance your response by connecting his influence to specific modern social movements or examples. So it gives me a whole layout of feedback. Again, I could have looked at this ahead of time or not pushed it out to students at all. But again, I think I did a pretty good job of giving the student feedback. And I'll go ahead and end the preview. And this will take us back to the lesson page. So from here, I can do several things. One of the things I want to show you is I want to show you what the reports area does. So I'll go ahead and click on that. And this will show you every instance where students engaged with the lesson, so you could look at any of these reports. So I'll go ahead to this one here and show you that I can get a holistic summary here. I can look by student to see how different students did on each individual question. I can also look by activity. So I could pull up any of these activities, and then I could look and see how everybody responded to it. The reporting is similar to Nearpod reporting if you have any experience with that. So the reporting is really helpful for really digging in on what the students responded with and being able to get a little more detail about that. Okay, so now that I've shown you how it can work, let me just show you how to generate a lesson if you wanted to. So if we go back up here to Get Lesson, this time I'm going to create it with AI. And let me just go back and show you that one more time. If I click on the drop down, I have my options. If I click on the button itself, it'll just take me to the Create with AI. So we have some options here where I can upload my slides and enhance them with activities. I have some, excuse me, daily routines. So if I click on this, it'll give me some more options underneath there that I can choose to use kind of as a template. But I'm going to go back and I'm just going to do the full lesson here. When I do this, I can choose my lesson topic or subject. I'm going to choose ELA. Let's see, I will choose a novel study, and I'll do, there we go. I'll leave the chapter off, and instead of author's focus, we will work on characterization. And I'll go ahead and click next. Okay, so what grade do we want this to be at? Let's say 6th grade. And I can add any additional information here that I want to. So let me go ahead and add a bit more information. Okay, I did add a bit more information. I also want you to see that you can align these to specific standards by state. So I'm going to go ahead and choose to get the lesson. Now it's going to create this for us. Once it does create it, we will be able to go in and edit anything that we want from here. Add additional slides, add additional components, anything that we want. Okay, so this is what it generated for us. We can see down here at the bottom, we've got a slide, we've got an open question. What do you think makes a character interesting in a story? We can go ahead and notice too that you can edit anything inside of here by clicking inside, and we get this editing bar up here at the top. Here is again, content slide. We've got some AI feedback. Choose a character. What does their behavior reveal about their character? Provide evidence from the text. A content slide, a drawing. Draw what you think Charlotte's Web would look like if it were made of candy. Okay, if we like that question, great. If we didn't want to, we could change it here. Additional slide, a whiteboard, and AI feedback. So from here, we can then add additional components. We can click on an activity. Let's say this one. We can choose to edit the activity with all sorts of different things. We can change the vote duration. We can disallow the students to vote. We can allow a certain number of participants and so on. Lots of different choices here if we edit the activity. We can also add new activities if we want to, all from within this area here. We can add in media, additional elements, and so on. Once we like this, we can either go into the preview, what we were before, or we could start it now. If we wanted to just go back to our home page, we could do that, and this will be for us inside of our lessons area. I'll go ahead back to my lessons, and here's our Charlotte's Web. We click on it here, it's going to take us to this screen that we were at where we could edit from here or start the lesson. So that is an overview of Curipod. It is a really handy tool for not only creating presentations, but engaging students with a variety of activities, some that have AI built into it, some that do not. And you as the instructor have full control over which slides are being shown, whether you're pushing out feedback, and whether you want things to be timed or students to vote on it and so on. So as the instructor, you have full control of moderation and the slides themselves. So I hope this helps to give an overview of Curipod and what it can do in your classroom for you.